All right, what we did is we masked off this piece of the pipe already, and what we did here is we marked it, masked it, and then we used the Sawzall here to make the cut through the pipe. I actually did the cut off camera. It's one of those things where you definitely want to make sure you have a good hold on the pipe and the bike. If you bind this blade up, it's going to shake the whole thing, and you don't want this to fall over, especially if you're working on the side stand like I am. I did put a piece of board behind this. This is just cardboard. Taped it up with a little bit of masking tape to protect the swing arm from the tip of the blade. Now, if you have a shorter blade in your Sawzall, you're probably going to have a little bit better luck here. I didn't have enough space, so I did cover mine up. But you can see here the pipe's loose now. What we're going to do is remove the top bolt on this pipe, and then we're going to bring this thing off the bike, and we're going to get started on the install. So let's make the next move. Okay, we've got the pipe cut down here. What we're going to do is remove this bolt from the passenger peg to bring this whole exhaust off of the bike, and this is going to get it out of the way. Then we'll go ahead and clean up the cut down here and put on the next pipe. So let's start with that. In the SV650 here, it uses 12 millimeter nuts and bolts, so I'm using both 12 millimeter wrench and socket here to get this pipe loosened up. Now this is going to come down. If you don't have a good grip on it, it'll probably fall, and since I'm doing it on video, I only got so many hands here, so let me see if we can keep it from falling down. There's the bolt on the back. Here's the loose pipe, and here's the parts here. You want to save all this hardware here because you're actually going to use this hardware to mount up your new pipe. So the rubber damper and then the inside, this collar here, is all stuff that you want to save. So we've got the pipe loose. I have a little bit of metal left down here on the cut that the Sawzall could not get to, and that's just due to the angle of the bike. So what I'm going to do is just kind of roll it back and forth here to get it off. And you can see we've gone ahead and removed that. And there's the mark. And there's the whole pipe. So let's move on. Okay, now that we've got this cut off, what I've done is I've got the muffler removed, the bolt removed up here, and what we're going to do is clean this up with a file. So what I've got is Sears. It's just a bastard file. Nothing special here. $6 at Sears. You can use any file that you got laying around, even some sandpaper if that's what you got. What I did was kind of round off this edge just a little bit. So we clean up this edge where the Sawzall left some burrs, and this is going to prevent it from being rough when we go ahead and install the new part, and that's just going to give us a better seal around the mid pipe and this part of the exhaust. So like I say, there's not a whole lot to this. You can kind of go like across the top here, smooth everything out. Once that's done, you can have a look here and see what you've got inside. If you have a California model, you may have a sensor down in here. Mine is not a California model, so this is just straight through to the engine right now. If we turn this on, this thing would be super loud. So what we're going to do, now that we have everything cleared out, is we're going to go ahead and dry fit the pipe and see what our angles look like and make sure that everything lines up the way we want before we go ahead and begin putting on sealant and bolting things down. So let's get the pipe up here, take a look at it, see what it's going to look like. Fortunately, I've already got the pipe out of the box and the mid pipe installed. The mid pipe is just temporarily installed, just like we're going to do here. I took it, pushed it into this collar here. There's some little slots along the way, so it'll expand as necessary. So this will fit in here and give you some flexibility when you're installing. But when the clamp gets on there, it's really going to hold it down. What you want to do is, once you've got this lined up on here, you can twist the pipe back and forth, and you can twist the pipe on the mid pipe here to get the geometry that you're looking for. If you want the oval to be slightly tilted out, or if you want to work with the lines of the bike, you can certainly do that. You got some flexibility here because you do have the two joints. So let's put it on and see how our line looks. All right, so this is the line on the bike. And we've got this mid pipe on here and connected to the exhaust. You can see how it lines up here. We've got some pretty good centering actually. I left an extra 15 millimeters on the existing exhaust so my clamp would come more to the center of my pipe. Now if you took a little bit extra off, the clamp's going to be up here further. If you leave a little more on, it's going to be down at the bottom. So that's really just a matter of personal taste, how you want it to look when you get done. Just for aesthetics, I left a little bit extra so we could try to get this more centered up with the clamp. Now, we'll see how that looks when we get to the final product. But this looks pretty solid so far, and again, you can move this around. You want to wiggle it back and forth. You can twist the muffler as necessary, but things are going to square up a lot when we put this bracket back on here to hold the muffler up here. So now that we've got a dry fit, we know things are looking good. Let's go ahead and move to the next step, which is to fit this muffler onto the bike. Okay, now that we've dry fitted this, let's go ahead and get this ready to install. I've already put the clamp on here. Now this is as loose as it's going to go. Slid it over the collar here that's going to go on this, and I've got it ready to go. Now you can put these on either way. I've chosen to mount this so the actual bolt head is hidden down below the pipe, and we can rotate that around a little bit once we've got this in the final position, but that'll give it a little bit more hidden. It gives it a more finished appeal out in front here when people are checking out the bike from the side. So you do want to probably watch that unless you have some different types of clamps, which is a possibility. First thing we want to do with this is get the sealant in here. There's probably no real good way to get this in here without having it smear on this part a little bit. But what we're going to do for this video is go ahead and run a bead of sealant all the way around the inside of this tube. And you want to make that bead a pretty good bead, because this is sensor safe and it won't affect anything. And once we put that on there, that bead's going to just kind of squish into place here and make a real good seal with the edge of this pipe and the front of this pipe that we filed off. So let's go ahead and put the bead of sealant in and get this thing going. Now you have some working time with this sealant. It's an hour to a partial set, and then it's 24 hours to a full set. So when you get a chance, you're going to want to go ahead and let this set overnight to give it a real good seal. And it's going to be kind of tricky getting that bead in there, so take your time, go around slowly, and make sure that you're happy with how the seal looks. You can kind of push it around with the nozzle a little bit. But as long as it's in there, it doesn't have to be beautiful, it just has to make a seal. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but I'll try to get it as best I can in the camera. What that is the bead around there. And I put it pretty far up in there because I don't want it to smear on the outside of this. I really want it to make a seal right around the top edge of this part here, because that's where the pipe's going to really be tightened down, and this is really where you want the seal to be. So to make sure that's airtight, make sure you get that in there. So let's slide it on and just kind of loose fit this so we can still move it around when we get the muffler on here. I'm just finger tightening this bolt so we still can move this pipe a little bit, because I can tell right now it's not in the right position for the muffler. So let's go ahead and get the muffler up here, get the sealant on that, and finish up this project.